News Weekly.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 150 in year 3, and it is a big milestone episode. And we got some of the biggest news that people have probably been wanting, because we have a will he, won't he thing going on. And it seems like, will he? I mean, it looks like we might be having Ben Affleck returning to the DCEU. We're going to dive into that. We have Flash spoilers, because apparently the movie got reviewed last night, and there's a lot of stuff coming out. And SDCC happened, which was pretty crazy. And we got the Harley Quinn show that dropped. We're going to review all the first 3 episodes. We will let you know before we start doing that, so, in case you don't want spoilers. And then we got questions and comic books. So it's going to be a big episode today. And let's start off with SDCC, though, before we dive into the big.
All right.
News.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest thing that came out of San Diego Comic-Con?
That DC's panel was absolute shit, probably. But...
Okay, that's something you talked about on your other podcast, right? I thought it was an A panel, you know what I mean? Give it a grade A, you know what I mean? A plus maybe. So
no, but in all seriousness, this is a Batman podcast, so anything Batman related. As far as San Diego Comic-Con, I think the biggest thing for us would probably have to be, gosh, I don't know. There's been a lot of stuff that like people are kind of butting heads about on regardless of if or in regards to if this was kind of like a dud for San Diego Comic-Con.
In DC as a whole, or just
DC as a whole, because like the big thing for people who don't know, one of the big announcements was with Dark Crisis. And they had a big name reveal, because the name isn't really Dark Crisis. It's actually Dark Crisis of Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
So it is what they are calling a direct sequel to the Crisis on Infinite Earths back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And a lot of comic book fans were just laughing at the fact that, like, that must mean that Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, Flashpoint, New 52, like none of that is an actual sequel to Crisis. Those are all just like non-canon now because they're not actual sequels. Just making jokes about it. But that's kind of like the first big thing. But I know that you're chomping at the bit to kind of talk about this Tom King book.
Is it a Tom King book?
Yes,
the Gotham one.
Yes,
I already forgot about that. See, we're going to talk about Clayman dropping something, but we don't know if it's a Tom King book.
We don't know about that one, but that did bring up a conversation that I don't want to spend too much on, but I do want to bring it up. Some of your comments towards what Clayman is possibly doing with or without Tom King.
Yes.
But Tom King is putting out a book that is, I can't remember the full title as of
Isn't
right
it
now.
Gotham City Year 1?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. And it is following the grandparents of the Waynes.
Yes. And the main, I guess, protagonist is going to be Slam Bradley. Now, I'm confused when it comes to Slam Bradley, because if this is the Wayne's parents, you'd have to assume that this is going to be, I mean, obviously we deal with time zone, or we deal with eras very differently, but you would think if Bruce is in current day 2022 is, let's say, in his 30s, that means, you go back 30 years. So it's in the 80s-ish, 90s-ish area when his parents are still alive. And then you got to think that it's their parents, or is it their grandparents?
That's like, okay. So I wanted to get a little bit more on that. So
like here's my thing is, I don't care about the era, because again, I think we know Tom King's MO is
it's right here. It says Tom King says this is like the top when I searched it on Twitter. It says just announced. He says Phil Hester and I are doing one of those big important books, Gotham Year 1 an in-continuity mini about how Gotham became Gotham and Batman became Batman. 60 years ago, Slam Brady investigates the kidnapping of the Wayne baby. It's Chinatown in the DC universe.
Yeah. So, first off, got to say, up yours to all the Tom King haters, because it's in continuity, people. Whatever Tom King does is not going continuity. So I love that he threw that in there. But this is gonna be interesting because. So you think this is probably 60 years prior to Bruce, maybe? Because his parents, I never get the vibe that his parents are young. You know what I mean? Because like his dad's a doctor, so his dad's easily in his 30s at the youngest.
I always thought the Waynes, when they were murdered, were anywhere between 30 to 45 years old.
Yeah. So there's a good chunk of time that this is going to be in early Gotham. You know what I mean? Yeah. This could be wartime Gotham if we wanted to. Like, you know, this could be early 50s, something like that too. So it's going to be interesting to see if Tom King chooses to use dates, which he is a big fan of dates. We know that, especially with the latest book. But, you know, I'm not a big fan of putting dates in books because I think it's easier for people to keep stuff in continuity when you don't put things to dates. You know what I mean?
But the thing is, he's already said 60 years. So I think that he is going to put a hard date on there.
For sure. And this would just be one of those books, if it does become like hardcore continuity that people actually love, it'll just change over time as comics grow and get older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my only confusing thing about this is the Slam Bradley or Brady, whatever his last name is, character. Because that character is in Ed Brubaker's Catwoman run as a love interest. Now, he is an older detective at that time, but I just don't see how he could be working with the Wayne, you know, kidnapping, murder, or whatever the hell this is going to be, and then be in Catwoman. Now, the only thing that could be, and I don't think Tom King has clarified this, is that could be Slam Bradley's father, because he is a junior apparently in the Catwoman run. So I'm curious if that would be his father. And if not, like, this is Tom King's MO, right? Like he likes to take the unexplored and explore it, right? Like it's what he does. Like he goes after characters that nobody really cares about anymore, and he tries to put his own stamp on them. So going after the Wayne grandparents, we don't really know that much about them. We have some people have done like little stories about them, but this is intriguing to me. I want to see what he's going to do. I did say I don't like when writers kind of build themselves up to be like, this is going to change the whole outlook of Gotham forever. Like I hate those kind of buzzwords, but I think it was Raphael in the chat was saying that he prefers that because he likes, even if they fail, they at least tried. And it's not one of those stories that people are just going to forget. You know what I mean? Because even if you think about it in a negative way, which I think this is how all Tom King haters think, they will read his story to hate on it, right? So even your haters are going to read this to hate you. But if you don't build up the story in any way, people will just pass it by. Kind of like Joker books, you know what I mean? Like all these Joker books that are coming out, I don't give a fuck about them. Like, I'm not going to read them. And so I find it intriguing, and I think Raphael made a really good point with that. Still not a big fan of it because you're just putting so much pressure on yourself and something you have to live up to, you know what I mean? But, you know, because I think there's plenty of ways to hype up your book without having to say it's going to be the greatest thing of all time, you know what I mean? But
yeah, like, well, and the really funny thing, it's funny that you bring that up because a lot of times in the solicits for these comics, the editors are telling writers, hey, you need to basically be your own hype man, and you're writing the solicit. And so it's really funny that we know as consumers that these writers are writing the summaries to their own solicits.
Yeah.
And so I love it whenever you hear the very first line or the very last line being, "This book will change the way you look at the DC universe forever."
Yeah.
And it's like, will it really though?
Yeah.
Like,
I have to say right now, Teenie Howard is perfect at that, because that girl is pissing me off. And I've read 46 already, and I have to say,
did you really?
Yeah.
I saw that it was available to us.
I
was
read
just like, I'm gonna
already.
wait. I'm gonna wait.
I had to. I can't, dude. I call me dramatic or soap opera-ish lover or whatever. I mean, I'm a fan of Friends. I love the Ross and Rachel shit. So this has got me on the edge of my seat, which I fucking hate, because I love these characters. I love these characters more than I love Friends. You know what I mean? But like, she even said this in an interview. She writes in a way that you'll probably hate her as a writer, but she wants you to you're reading the book still. That's the thing. And I'm just like, I can't hate her for that. And it's just like, I hate what she's doing, like what she's doing to me as a reader. But yeah, as I read 46.
I'm surprised I didn't get that text. Did you read 46 already?
I think it's because I'm just trying to I want it to be over with if they are going to pull a trigger or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The next issue is definitely going to get people talking, but I want to know if Teenie Howard is just releasing these like salacious solicitations to get you to buy the book or to read it. You know what I mean? And so she could be putting in stuff in there that's just making you be like, oh yeah, this might happen. You know? And you're just like, oh, fucking bitch, I want to read this. I'm going to hate it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, we had a pretty big discussion over the talk of what the recent solicitations for Catwoman were. The whole thing, like, oh, there's, White Knight and Dark Prince of Crime and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, why go to that length when inside the actual book you're telling us it'll never happen? I haven't read 46, so
for sure
I don't know.
She will be. I mean, 46 isn't, I don't think, anything to jump off a bridge about. But I think people are going to see the first opening pages and be like, why are you doing this to us? You know what I mean? But like, I think I made that a little bit more dramatic than it is, but people are going to see those first few pages and they're going to be like, oh, and then, oh, what? You know what I mean? It's going to be like, she's playing with your heart. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But the thing is, with like 48, I think it's her choice words, because like she uses something along the lines of like lovers, like new lover meets new old lover or some shit like that. And it's like, when people, the word lover nowadays means like hooking up kind of shit nowadays. You know what I mean? Relationship. And we've talked about it in the Discord plenty of times, because this is, I feel like, one of the bigger talking points in Discord is Batcat. And we've talked about how the way she's writing Catwoman, if Catwoman were to hook up with Valmont, it makes her a bad character. You know what I mean? After talking that big game. You know what I mean? It's like Batman. That's why I never liked the idea of Batman killing, because people are constantly like, well, Batman should kill and blah, blah. I'm like, no, he spent his whole life talking about this no fucking kill rule. And then you're going to just totally be cool with him killing somebody. Like, it would make him a bad character. And so that's kind of the way I see that kind of thing. But we don't need to go onto the Batcat stuff anymore. But yes, solicitations are very out there. We know that this came out of SDCC too. What are your thoughts on this second Joker book sequel?
So yeah, I was just about to bring it up. So DC announces a Joker series sequel, The Joker, the man who stopped laughing. Yeah. This is from our boy, of course, DC versus Vampires, Rosenberg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, so fuck. We'll give it the first issue.
It looks like Rosenberg is really starting to step it up in the sense of being the go-to guy for new titles, just like how
he had to pick a Joker book.
Well, the thing was, I didn't even know this, but it says here in this article that back in the original series with Tynion, it looks like he wrote issue 5. I can't remember what issue 5 was.
We dropped it by then, I think.
I think so. He was involved in the writing of the first series in some capacity, one issue.
Mhm.
So he knows probably some points that Tynan was doing
Yeah.
in that book. If people who don't know, there was a lot of things that was introduced in that book, including Bane's daughter, Vengeance is her name.
Oh, was that officially his daughter? I didn't read the
Yeah.
book. I wasn't keeping
Yeah,
up with it.
that's what they're naming her here in this article is Bane's daughter.
That book came out after the Batman trailer, right?
I think technically so. Yeah.
Yeah. They just fucking so
I'm
swiped that.
Vengeance.
Yeah, you know that was Tynan's like, oh, good idea. He was the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's like, oh, there, that mine. Yeah, fucking of course, Vengeance. Lame.
But this will be out in October of this year.
Joker book Halloween, of course.
Yep. So, but I mean, it's not the only Joker related thing that is coming out, because there is also going to be a Punchline book that is coming out. It's a new limited series called Punchline: The Gotham Game, co-written by Teenie Howard and Blake Howard.
Huh?
So it's a family duo with art by Gleb Melnikov. So I don't know who Blake Howard is, and I don't know this artist.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's not giving out really a whole lot of information here whatsoever. So if this is spinning out of what was going on in the backups of the Joker, we have absolutely no clue.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What is happening to her character. But we have and I understand that most people need to get on board with reading backups because sometimes they do move a story of a character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we haven't had any good backups since Rosenberg's House of Gotham story.
Yeah. I do think the idea of backups is better than like an Urban Legends. Because if you want to, promote a new character or give like light to other characters, I think a backup is a smart idea, because one, you can charge a little bit more for the book, and you can, hopefully get people on board with these characters, right? Like everybody, CBR was talking about the boy, you know what I mean? Or like the nameless kid or whatever the hell they were calling him. And like, that's pretty crazy. You know what I mean? Like CBR usually only does reviews on the main titles, or like if something crazy happens, like a death or somebody comes out or somebody's like bi or something like that, right? Like that's what they go for, the salacious headlines. And I don't know why that's my new word today, but like they do that all the time. So for them to cover the boy, that was huge. Like nobody talks about the backups. Like what else? There's nothing. And it was also because I think that book was carrying that, that whole series of like the Tower or whatever the hell that was. And then now What's Her Face is bad. Like, I don't, where the fuck did that story go? The chick from the movie, I forget her name.
The doctor.
Yeah. See, like, I don't even care what's going on there. I just care about Rosenberg, like what's going on with that, And it's also because I think Rosenberg did something different with that backup and created a character and then killed them off. Like,
and it was able to write a story that was already within DC Universe's stories within, like, we were talking about Cataclysm and Nightfall and all of these other famous stories, and he was able to insert a character into that story without messing with the original story whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we thought that was very, very cool. And I think that not a lot of people, like, because for one, let's be completely honest. The whole entire reason Batman Urban Legends is even a thing is because, okay, COVID really hit them hard as far as their sales, and getting all that income and money. Yeah. So we need to put out another Batman book that has a very large dollar amount so we can kind of get back some of that.
Yeah.
So they put freaking 4 different creative teams, put it in one book, and is selling it at almost nearly $10 a pop.
Yeah. You want to know, DC, you can steal this series. Just let me write a couple issues of it. There needs to be a book called A Day in the Life of Gotham, and it's just a bunch of stories of the civilian perspective in Gotham.
That's what urban legends should be, because that's the whole point of an urban legend.
Yeah.
Is like they're talking about these heroes and people are like, no, I don't think so, man. Like,
yeah.
Until you like see it actually happen. Like, I think that's what urban legends should have been.
But DC also just made a Jim Gordon book and it called The Joker. So they're very bad with titles.
Yes, very much
so. Anyways, so we got a Punchline book coming out. We got the Joker book. We got some crap going on with Incorporated.
Yeah, and I think it was Raphael again. Shout outs to you, Raphael, that brought up the idea of what may be one of the starting story arcs, which is this whole thing with Catwoman's father. How do you feel about that?
And I think I started reading the article. As long as it's Catwoman's just drunken father, like, because I think they're going to be in Ireland. So I think her dad is like Irish or whatever. And I think her mom in continuity is either Cuban or Colombian or something like that. She's Latina. I know that for sure. But like, or is it Puerto Rican? It's something like that. But anyways, like, that's always been their dynamic. They tried to make her father like Carmine Falcone at one point, and then some other person at one point, like a big mob boss. I've never liked that. Like, I think the best dynamic is when her parents were just nobodies and they left her on the street. You know what I mean? Because it's a little too hard for me to believe the idea of, like, I don't know, a powerful mob boss not caring about their kids, unless it was like, with the mistress or something like that. That I can understand. But for the most part, like, all these big mob families are about family. You know what I mean? They're Dom Toretto. Like, it's what matters. So, like, I don't know. I like that her family is usually just nobodies. And so as long as the father is that, I'm curious on why they would be doing that, though. With everything else going on in the world, they're like, oh, yeah, some random Irish dude that died? Or is it because they know it's Catwoman's father that they're doing it? I'm curious. But, I don't know what the obsession with Catwoman is lately. Like,
I mean, it could be the fact that, of course, she was just in The Batman. And so these are how trends are. Same thing with Peacemaker. He has never really been a part of the Suicide Squad, and then all of a sudden, because he was in James Gunn, the Suicide Squad, he started showing up in DC Comics again in the Suicide Squad. So I think that's usually what happens is they latch onto these characters. And they're like, okay, let's push them. Let's see if they can gain traction and whatnot. But on top of other books that have been announced, there was a book that kind of caused a little bit of controversy. Drew, posted a post on Twitter, a picture of it. But I want your opinion on this. There is a new Gotham City Police Department series with John Ridley being the one to write it. It says the artist is Stefano Raffaelli, and the main character is going to be Renee Montoya. So the big thing here is there is hundreds of quote tweaks out there and people complaining that DC is wrong for having a minority, queer, Latina woman being in the police force. And I'm just thinking, where have you been since Renee Montoya has been introduced in comics?
She's a fucking question. Like, God, it's just my problem with, and it doesn't, you want to know why I think this got so big right now? It's because of what's happening with the conversation you and Drew were talking about with the Comicsgate guy. That's why it's so big right now, is because that guy who just raised $3 million, which doesn't matter who you are, if you could raise $3 million, that's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So, like, whether you like Comicsgate or not, like, the dude did what he did. But I saw a video of him being like, this is why people don't like DC, because look at this. I don't think he says woke shit, but he's like, look at this dialogue. Like, it's just so terrible, blah, blah, blah. And granted, he used the word Latinx, so I already hate the panel. You know what I mean? With that whole Montoya shit. But like, it's what you're gonna get from Ridley. You know what I mean? And my issue with this is the people that hate on this particular stuff act like that is all DC is woke bullshit. Yeah. And it's not. When was not the last time we bitched about a Batman book being woke? You know?
Shit.
Because we expected I Am Batman to be woke, and it hasn't even been.
No, it really hasn't.
And so, like, that's what annoys me. I don't mind that these people are out there able to start their own Kickstarters and do all this kind of shit, because there's an audience for everything out there. But my thing is the way they hyper focus on the books that people are trying to write, because it's a bit contradictory. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I'm starting my own business to write books the way I want to see it and the way fans really want to see it. I'm like, okay, cool. You don't think these writers are writing the way they fucking want to write? Like, you know what I mean? You're talking to a guy who wrote a fucking Oscar award-winning movie about slavery. Like, you don't think that's how his mind thinks? Like, he cares about issues. He does all this kind of shit. So why fucking hate on the dude? Like, granted, the dialogue's pretty cringe, and I will say that. And
I even said it to Drew because he posted that panel in the comics chat with us over at Juice's Discord, and the dialogue, and I'll actually read it right here because I kind of rolled my eyes, and he called me out on like, why did you roll the eyes? Yeah. And I was like, it's because that is Ridley's dialogue, not just in DC but also in Marvel. Right now, he is currently writing Black Panther. I don't know if Black Panther has been canceled or not, but Ridley, for some reason, I enjoy his work on TV and in movies.
Yeah.
But on the page, it just doesn't work out very well. And the dialogue is from Montoya. She says, what I know, Beckett was a racist, sexist, and homophobic. Now you're trying to virtue signal by offering the position of commissioner to a queer female representing Latinx.
Yeah. So here's the thing, though. We've always talked about how when it comes to reading text, it's all about dialogue, right? I mean, it's not dialogue, context. Yes. Or third wrong word, perspective. That's what I mean.
I mean, perspective and context, same thing.
So it depends on how you want to read that. I think people that are annoyed by the woke agenda they read everything that has those kind of buzzwords as negative. They're just like, ugh, this agenda, ugh. You know what I mean? That's just how their brain works. Tom King's writing something, ugh. You know what I mean? Like, that's how they are. But you could read this as like, oh, that is exactly what's happening in today's world in certain genres. We have talked about the idea that there are times when it feels like certain TV shows or whatever are forcing characters in there just to fit like a quota. You know what I mean? Like, I love Doctor Who, but like a lot of people are like, oh, they're just throwing women in there. Oh, they're just throwing black characters in there, which I don't mind. Now, I cannot confirm this, and I don't think it's true, but I want to say I saw an article about it, and it could have been just clickbait, but it was saying like the new Doctor Who was like black, because he's going to be a black actor, but he's also gay maybe. But then they're also, I don't know if the new companion is trans or not. I don't know if all of this is true or not. But I thought I saw that. So it just kind of seems like Doctor Who is like, we're going to knock out every box right now, and then we can go back to the way we were doing things forever. You know what I mean? Or maybe they've changed for the future. I don't really know. But it gives off that vibe, right? And I think that's what people hyper focus on instead of it being progress, right? But you could read Ridley's work as that. Like, you could read him as bringing in what happens in the real world into comic books. You know what I mean? Because what happens when controversy happens in big business or in government, right? They're like, what is the best move for us PR-wise? Look at what just happened in the WWE. Vince McMahon, who was going to die in his chair directing the WWE, has just resigned because all of
wild,
all of these hush payments are coming out about him silencing women. So what did they do? They put a female in the CEO position, which is his daughter. That's the best move because there's plenty of people. She had just got relieved of her duties a few months ago. So
Wait,
like,
what happened to the whole thing with Triple H being like the new?
he's the head of creative and talent
Oh,
relations. He's not
okay.
CEO.
Okay.
Because a McMahon needs to be a CEO for stockholders' purposes. But look at what happened there, right? She was just fired, and then they brought her back because it's the best PR move to show, like, oh, we care. We care. Look at this. Like, we're putting a woman in position to change things.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people do that. That's happened in a lot of big corporations before. And it's not saying that that shouldn't happen. Like, I think everybody should have the equal opportunity to get these high paying positions. But it's really weird that they, majority of the time, they happen after a big scandal. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you could observe it as that's exactly what's happening in Ridley's book. But a lot of people just focus on the dialogue and they're like, oh, look at this woke agenda. And I'm like, bro, that happens in the real world. Like, why are you? I guess you hate it in the real world too, right? Like, you prefer Vince McMahon to be able to keep doing his hush money payments so he can run a terrible fucking product. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I, for one, am happy this came out because I prefer Triple H running shit over Vince McMahon. Because Vince McMahon has this weird obsession with big sweaty men and doing pose-offs and shit. I'm just like, I want to get back to creative wrestling. That's my favorite shit. So, yeah. Well, sweet. That's my WWE rant for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, real quick, there's 2 more books that I just wanted to name off, and then that's it for the DC comic stuff. First one being Batman: The Audio Adventures. It's actually a 7-issue tie-in comic to the, I guess, award-winning audio series from HBO Max.
Oh,
this
nice.
starts exactly where the audio series ended. So if you want to go listen to that and then pick up this issue, this will be available at the very end of September.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the last one, not a big thing because I don't think we're going to be reading it because it is a part of the White Knight series.
Oh, yeah.
The Batman White Knight Presents Red Hood #1. This will be what takes place between White Knight 2 or whatever it was, and then of course Batman Beyond the White Knight. So
yeah, no, thank you. Do not care anymore about that. But yeah, so that's all we got for SDCC news. Oh wait, we didn't even talk about the Clayman thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Clayman just dropped a random photo on his Twitter account that said, "What's beyond Batcat? Here's a peek." And it was his classic Batman pose in the background. And then what looks to be a Batman Beyond, a male version, because everybody kind of thought that Helena was the new Batman Beyond because of Batcat. But this looks like a man in a same kind of suit, which is the only thing I hate about this is the mouth. I hate when people draw a mouth on Batman Beyond. I absolutely hate it. It's why I've never read the book. But Neon Batman, they don't do that. They do the white lines or whatever that make it look like you know, the way the cartoon looked.
Yeah.
And so it's the only thing I don't like about this from Clayman's. But the big question is, Tom King didn't retweet this. So we don't know if Tom King is involved at all. And I think it was Raphael in Discord that said that Clayman wants, if he's going to work in DC going forward, he wants to work with his brother, apparently. I don't know what his brother's done. I don't know if his brother's a writer or whatever his brother is. But what are your thoughts on a Clayman written book with his brother without Tom King?
So, if I remember correctly, there was an old Gambit comic that I had recently read, I think during the pandemic shutdown, that was written and drawn by Clayman. People, if you know what it is, correct me if I'm wrong. But the writing, so it was Gambit that he did write and draw.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. He only drew it. Damn it. So if that's the case, I don't know if I have seen anything that man has written, or if this will be his like debut as a writer.
Yeah.
I'm okay with giving anybody the chance because back in New 52, there was a series called Batman The Dark Knight, which was Tony S. Daniels.
Yeah.
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 And it was okay. It wasn't the greatest book I've ever read.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But it was okay.
That was the one that had that badass doll maker arc in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
Visually, it was awesome.
It had Dollmaker, and then it also introduced the bunny character. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I have that cover like framed, of course. It was one of the first comics I bought, I think. Or like not the first comics, but when I went to a comic shop. It was back when your old job used to be in the other building.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That weird triangle shaped building. That was always weird. But yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm willing to say, okay, let's give him a chance and let's see how it is.
Yeah.
But this brought on a conversation that you had brought up that if King is not involved, you're not entirely sure if you want to even attempt to read it.
Yeah.
And I made the joking comment of, oh, it looks like, Juice just doesn't want to read anything since
that's not written by Tom King.
That's not written by Tom King. And what my exact words was, Juice thinks Batman shouldn't exist now that King doesn't write him. Yeah. And you said, not my fault that every writer has been trash.
Yeah.
And I understand we're all joking. And it can seem a little hyperbolic. But like, why do you like, is there a little bit of seriousness in all of this? Like, how do you explain that?
My thing is, I don't like stories being continued by other writers, especially a brand new writer, without at least the person that did the story kind of involved. You know what I mean? So like, because we have how many people out there are like Batcat's not continuity, Batcat's not continuity, Batcat's not continuity, right? Yeah. Okay, let's play that game, that Batcat's not continuity. Then that's even more of a reason for me to not want anybody to continue that story. Because that story is solid by itself. Besides those 3 drawn issues that are just fucking random, the whole story as a whole, I think, is pretty solid. But if you're gonna have somebody continue that story arc without King involved, it just adds so much to just fuck up, in my opinion. My biggest example of this is Ed Brubaker's Catwoman run. Fantastic. I don't know if he won awards for that, but he should have, because it's so great. Yeah. It went from that to I always forget the writer's name, but it's Pfeiffer. I think it's Willis Pfeiffer, but I think their last name is Pfeiffer.
Okay.
Pfeiffer almost cloned Brubaker's run. Like, it was good. And that's why I kept reading. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is awesome. Until
the baby mama.
Yes. Until Pfeiffer decided that fucking Selena should date some random thug, have a baby with him, and then Bruce is the sugar daddy for Selena. And I'm just like, what? Like, this run was going fucking great, and then they jumped the shark. You know what I mean? And so, like, and at that point, that's what kills stories, right? So I just don't like the idea of somebody continuing something. And this isn't just because it's King, because I know people are probably going to think that. We said this with, like, Jeff Johns and people, right? Like, you're like, you that's don't the touch thing. Those.
I was going to say, there is good stories for the other side of the argument. You have Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then you have Infinite Crisis. People say that that 52, not New 52, but 52 and Infinite Crisis were their introduction to DC Comics, and then found out later, oh, that's all because of what happened in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
So the original story that you have with like Marv Wolfman and George Perez and all of these people back in the 80s, and then they continue the story in 2009, and it's great. So you like, it's I understand that it's hard to see a really good run feel like it's tarnished because of somebody wanting to do their own spin off of what somebody else does. I totally get that. For instance, we have the great runs of Action Comics and Superman in Rebirth.
Yeah.
And then it completely gets thrown in the garbage with Bendis.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But I do think that we can't get the stories that we're getting today without the stories that we have in the past.
So totally get your point. But the counter argument to that is you might have just used probably the worst example, because there was 20 years in between that. So times change. So you can improve on that. You know what I mean? Like, we think Killing Joke is pretty fantastic minus 3 pages, right?
Yeah.
And some people are like, that's a continuation of the Killing Joke, or 3 Jokers, I should say, is a continuation. And I'm just like, all right, but when did Killing Joke come out? 90s, 80s? Like, that was a while back.
Yeah.
You know?
80s.
So I think my biggest issue is it coming out. If this book is coming out, it's coming out so much so fast after Batcat. You know what I mean? If there was somebody making this in 10 years and they were like, we're continuing Batcat or whatever, I'd be like, oh, damn, nice. I'd be down. But I don't like, because one, it comes off as a cash grab. If Tom King's not involved, it comes off as a cash grab to me, because you're just doing a book to do a book. You know what I mean? And just because Clayman's involved, that means this book's going to take 20 years to make. So I don't know. Him writing and drawing, like, come on. Like, this is a 5-year book minimum.
Well, I think there's a good possibility, not that it will be written well, because I don't know his writing capabilities.
Damn, I don't know if he can read.
No, but for the fact that, like, I think it might be easier because he has the dialogue in his head, because he's the one writing it. I think it might be easier for him to draw.
My counter argument to that is George Jimenez. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's I think I
damn you, Batman Black and White.
I think I said this in I don't know if I said it in the Discord, but I think it's only 9 out of 10 times that a writer / artist does well on a book.
Yeah.
And the last time that it has done really well is the Catwoman book. That is phenomenal.
Lonely City, yeah.
Yeah. And before that, I want to say Stefchik. His run okay with Harley Quinn. But that was like a fanfic. You know what I mean?
Sajic.
Yeah. So, like, some people could say that was him, because I think he wrote and drew that as well. But I don't think that was anywhere close to what we got with that Catwoman book. Like, that book deserves awards. I don't know why it didn't get one at the fucking Eisners. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's the only time, because before that, I couldn't tell you the last writer, artist combination that fucking did well. So
I can't think of any that has gone through with DC other than the Catwoman in the last few years.
Yeah.
Other than Harleen with Sajic. And those are 2 limited series.
Yeah. And it's definitely happened, though. People are definitely writing and drawing their own books, but they're usually not great.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what worries me. You know what I mean? I enjoy Batcat. And I don't know. Like, I'm cool with Clayman doing something on his own, but I just don't like if it's going to be a continuation of something Tom King's done. You know what I mean? I feel like kind of the same thing with, like, some of Jeff John's stories. Like, I was like, I don't really want to see that. It's kind of like what we talk about. You don't fucking remake or continue fucking Back to the Future. You know? There's some things you just don't want to see done. Now, I feel like I'm giving Tom King a little too much praise there, but I don't know. I think it's just too soon if he's not going to be involved. You know what I mean? That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
So, but it looks interesting. If Tom King comes out and says, like, oh, y'all are going to be, this is going to be crazy, like, wait for it. But him not retweeting it because he's a retweet fiend makes me think that he's not a part of it. So, which would be pretty crazy. So from there, I think let's go on should we do the Harley Quinn review, or do we go into these spoilers and Batman stuff?
Let's do the spoilers and Batman stuff. But before we even do that, we did get news that Alan Horn has joined Warner Media or joined Warner Brothers Discovery. And I don't know if you remember this, but
is that the guy they fired from Marvel that went to Marvel?
Yeah, he retired. They let him go from WB, and then Bob, the old Bob from Disney, hired him with Disney, won them billions of dollars, and then once that Bob retired, so did Alan Horn. Well, Zaslav went ahead and said, "Hey, what if I give you this really fat check and you come over here and help us with dealing with everything DC and Harry Potter and everything else?"
Yeah.
Well, it has been official. He is on the payroll now.
Oh, wow.
And he has made comments on that he is for sure, because it would be what was the direct quote? I can't remember what the direct quote was, but he will be working directly with DC.
Okay.
So they're calling him a consultant, but even then, because the man is like nearing 80 years old, pretty much, I think his realistic plan will to look at all of the properties that they have, excuse me, and then say, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah. Provide the outline.
Yeah. Provide the outline, see through everything in the next like year or two, and then say, hey, you guys got it from here. Peace out. And then leave with that fat check. Like, I think that's basically how everything's going to be going for him. But this kind of, I think, gets us into our next news topic, which is we got a confirmation from Jason Momoa of something that happened yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's all because WB decided to tour like random civilians around the WB lots, and they ruined a surprise that was supposed to be in Aquaman 2.
Yeah.
So I shared in the Discord, Jason Momoa put in a Instagram post, a video of the first thing you see is this like bus, or like it's like one of those extended golf carts or whatever.
Yeah. I've been on these tours. It's pretty fire.
Of people, and like the very first words you hear is, well, that was supposed to be a surprise, you fuckers. And then he like looks at the kids, he's like, sorry kids. And then like he just like laughs it off. And then you see him say, oh, we tried to even hide it with the set. And he turns around, it's labeled as the Old Friends Studio.
So that is just the name of the studio. That's always there.
Okay.
The plaque is always there.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I thought like, oh, they were trying to be like extra careful, and like throwing that in there.
If they were hiding it with that, people would be freaking out that it's Friends. They're like, they're bringing Friends back. You know what I mean? Like that would be bigger than Aquaman 2. I'm sorry.
So what ends up happening is he walks to this trailer that just has a blank sheet of paper with a printed B and A, and he opens it, and the next thing you know, Ben Affleck is on the phone. He's like, oh, sorry, bro. And then you see two photos after that video of him and Ben Affleck, just joking around in the trailer.
Yeah.
So it has been confirmed that we will see Bruce Wayne at the least in Aquaman 2.
Yeah. I call a little bit of bullshit here.
Really?
Yeah, because so check this out. At the moment, this the reason why I call bullshit is I don't think this happened recently. I think this is old. And the reason why I say that is because currently, at the moment, Ben Affleck is on his honeymoon with Jennifer Lopez. So, and they're like doing like a tour of all these places because they're rich, so they can go to a bunch of different places.
Well, like I was going to say, I made the joke because when this first started going going around, I thought the same thing, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
did anybody tell Ben Affleck this? And
Yeah.
I shared the photo of him falling asleep on his boat
Yeah.
that just recently came out, and even people were saying, "Oh, this can't be a recent photo. This can't be a recent photo." I
Yeah.
said, unless makeup and hair is like doing miracles over on the WB lot, like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
entirely sure this is recent either. And then I actually saw the video, and I'm like, well, it's like it's right there. Like, how
But
can this
Aquaman's
be?
been done filming forever, though.
But they're doing reshoots.
Are they doing reshoots right now?
Yes, they are doing reshoots.
Because I saw photos, and I want to say photos the same day this came out, where he was in Paris by that super. I think it was Paris or London or whatever that fancy, the Louvre or whatever the hell it's called, that art museum that's underground with the pyramid that's in Wonder Woman.
Oh
That
yeah.
place, they were there.
Well, like
So
the big thing here is that I think it was Casey Walsh.
mhm.
He actually zoomed in, and you can see in the background of these pictures, you see a calendar with like topics for reshoots.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that kind of quote unquote confirms that they are doing reshoots.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just find it so weird because like paparazzi don't fuck around, you know? Like they take photos and those things go up like quick, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe they just flew to LA real quick to do that, but I don't know. But I mean, that's just what it is, like Hollywood magic. These could be posted for PR purposes. I also think the reason why we all know why this is being done, right? For Aquaman 2 of all movies.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Well, because the thing is, somebody else says Casey Walsh also zooming in on those reshoots. He says, "Interesting. It looks like reshoot calendars. There is a manta attack and a scene involving Mira.
Yeah.
So it may not. They may have not cut her completely from the film,
Yeah.
but if there's a manta attack and Mira appearing, they might kill her off."
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if they were to kill her off, but I would rather just fucking recast her, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just recast her. Fuck it. But we all know that they're bringing him for Amber Heard because that trial fucked over her image so much that people are like, I'm not. We have fucking Young in Discord. He's like, I'm still not gonna go watch it because of Amber Heard. And I'm just like, bruh. And there's so many people out there that are Johnny lovers that are not going to watch this. Like, if anything, they should have just fucking hired Johnny Depp to be in that movie somehow as a new villain, and he's going to show up in Aquaman. You know what I mean? That's what I would have fucking done. I would have made him Captain Jack Sparrow in Aquaman. Like, make him a
Jesus
pirate or some
Christ.
shit. Because, yeah, Amber Heard has fucked that movie so bad. Like, they could come out and say, Amber Heard is not in this movie. We've removed every single scene with her in it. And people would still not go watch it because she got paid for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, they're like, dude, we need to do something and bring back fucking Batman. Ben Affleck is looking great nowadays. Let's see if he's better mentally and bring him back. But the big question is, do you think this is long term?
So that's what brings us to our next topic. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write this down time-wise because I know I've been slacking on the YouTube. I can't slack this week because we're going to be talking heavy spoilers about The Flash.
Yeah.
So there was a screening yesterday by the time we are recording this. And the big things are, one, Juice, there's going to be a lot of sex jokes, apparently.
All right.
So this is in regards to apparently Wonder Woman makes an appearance in this movie, which we have heard before. So that is not too big in the spoiler section. But it looks like Ben Affleck and Ezra will be in possession of the lasso, and Miller makes like a sex joke like, oh, I like, he says something in the aspect of like, I'm a virgin, saying like, oh, I'm aware of the topic of sex or something like that. I don't know exactly how it goes. I will say that a lot of people apparently have like positive vibes of this movie. Everything I heard has people excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Ben and Keaton do not have scenes together, but they both thrive in the scenes that they are in. And it looks like Ben's Batman, the DCEU Bruce, is basically content at where he is in life. So he's not held back by his past or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So all of the weight that he had in BVS and Justice League, that's no more. That was one of the big things there. But one of the other big things, go ahead and skip like I want to go ahead and say 5 to 10 minutes because I want Juice's opinion on this.
Okay.
Because we have had conversations on what the possibility of Ben Affleck's future for this franchise. But ready, 3, 2, 1. A big spoiler here is that Ben Affleck appears in a post-credit scene, meaning that our predictions of him dying off in this movie, his swan song, we thought, is not coming true. That he's actually going to be here at the end of the movie, and it is addressed that this is a new, updated DCEU when the movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
So he's come back for Aquaman 2, apparently.
Yeah.
He has come back for Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's in the Flash, and it looks like he's going to be the set continuity Batman by the end of this movie. Do you think Ben is coming back?
Looking at this right now, Ben is 49 years old. Keaton's what, in his 70s, in his 60s?
70s.
I mean, if they can make Keaton look like a badass in his 70s as Batman, there's no reason Ben Affleck can't continue being Batman. You know what I mean? He may or may not hate the process of staying fit. And he's not as big as he was in BVS. So he's probably going to be a new slimmer Batman, which is, after we got fucking Pattinson, the model's been thrown out the window. You know what I mean? So you don't need to have a beefy Batman anymore. But I just think the way he plays Batman is the way people really like him. And if you keep that, people will enjoy it. I'm hoping The Flash has some scenes that kind of erase what he looked like in both Snyder Cut and Justice League, because I don't think he looked like a badass at all in either of those movies. Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping he gets back to looking cool. I am hoping that if he does come back, I feel like if he came back, Zaslav was like, look, bro, you're a director. You want to make fucking movies. People like you as Batman. You come back to us. You do whatever the fuck you want at WB.
So the big thing of why I said Alan Horn's story would mean a lot to this story, Alan Horn and Ben Affleck have a really good relationship. Like as producers, as people in Hollywood. And I do think that there is a big possibility that Ben Affleck probably knew that Zaslav was wanting Horn to return to WB. Yeah. And that may be why he's so willing to come back for more movies.
Do you think he gets his Batman?
I don't. And here's why. I think, and people may not like this, but I think if Ben Affleck is Batman, then he may be Batman as Iron Man was after Iron Man 3, which was, hey, I'm in a team-up movie, I'm in an Avengers movie, I'm in a cameo. Like, he is only going to be there for only set things.
Yeah.
So where you can just get a body double for all of the action scenes. He's only in suit for maybe anywhere close to on-set filming 30 minutes to like maybe 2 or 3 days instead of like months or weeks on end. I think that may be the route that he goes. I don't necessarily want that. But if there is a
better
case,
than nothing, though.
Well, if there is this case, because I remember the conversation we had last time with Keaton and Batgirl, and the director saying, "Oh, there's a spaghetti of a multiverse."
Yeah,
I think Keaton and Batman may, and I might be wrong because of what I said just now about how these two characters do not share any scenes together in the Flash, but I think they may be able to coexist on one Earth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that's gonna work. I guess we'll wait and see. But I don't know, man. That's gonna be weird. Because remember, we heard that Michelle Pfeiffer is Catwoman in the other. There's no way they're not gonna have a younger Catwoman if they bring back Ben Affleck. You know what I mean? And also, if he is coming back, that kills anybody's hope of Ana de Armas being Catwoman. Because there ain't no fucking way he's Batman and she's Catwoman.
Well,
all right.
the thing is, so we're still technically in the 10-minute mark of what I said for spoilers. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this at you also. So the whole thing with them being on the same Earth or whatever. So in DC Comics, after I think the whole thing leading up to Infinite Crisis, so after Crisis on Infinite Earths, that 20-year gap, Power Girl and Supergirl both were on the Earth Prime.
Yeah.
They're technically the exact same character. Those are both Kara Danvers. So, if the rumors are true about
isn't one big booby and the other one not?
Yes. But in the sense of if things are true about how DC and WB are wanting to lead to a Crisis movie, these two characters being on the same Earth would make sense.
Yeah.
And then you could have your guy in the chair while also having a Batman.
Yeah.
But that would also contradict reports of there being a quote unquote new Justice League in Batgirl.
Which we don't want. And that was before Zaslav came in the picture, though.
Yes. And that, like, June is a long way away.
Yeah.
And Batgirl now is even further than June. So I think that things can very much be reshot, reworked, whatever. And apparently, one of the Batmen, either Keaton or Ben, they don't specify who, because I went down the Reddit rabbit hole of this Flash screening and actually had conversations with two people that actually saw the movie or claim to have seen the movie. One of these characters references, and this is a heavy spoiler, but again, grain of salt. They don't say the name, but they hint at a possibility of an anti-monitor leading to Crisis.
Interesting. If we do get a Crisis, I think we also get a new Batman by the end of it.
I think so as well. I think both Keaton and Ben are gone by the end of Crisis.
You have to use Crisis to set up your new future going forward. If you're trying to make everything that's happened continuity, you have to use Crisis, because if they're using the original Crisis ending where it all gets melted into one Earth, you know what I mean? Then you have to make your solidified Justice League out of that. And I still think, and that gives you the option to keep Gal Gadot if you want to keep going with her in the future, because she looks fucking great, and she's probably gonna look great forever. So you can have her be Wonder Woman forever if you wanted to. But you can also use like the Thor thing, right? Like we've got a whole new thing, and Thor's still there, you know, and he's down to play Thor forever. It seems like, so that's pretty cool. And I wouldn't mind like somebody staying over like Gal Gadot, because the cool thing with, I think Gal and Harley and Margot Robbie are the only two people I would love to stay if they reboot the whole universe. Momoa's cool too. I don't mind him staying, but Ezra got to get the fuck out of there. So,
and that's the weird thing. A lot of people said, controversies aside, Ezra is really good in this movie.
Yeah. And again, if this pops off, WB like, it's okay, dude. We don't care what you did. But he's off the hinges, man. I don't think you can keep him. But yeah,
apparently,
I don't know.
He's in rehab right now.
Really?
Apparently.
I haven't heard any yet. I would feel like that would be everywhere, though.
I feel like it would too, but apparently he is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Apparently, it's like WB that is like coughing up the money for everything.
I mean, if did they have Ben go to rehab? And if they did, maybe they have some special ass fucking rehab.
I think that they did, because I remember it was Jim Lee and one other high executive that went to Ben's house during this whole thing with like
I think we
weed
covered
and
that.
everything else.
We covered that. Hey man, I'm always down for people to recover from shit, but he was getting kind of wild. Like, I think he needs to like stay off social media or have a PR manager. Like,
I think so as well. And I just remember like the god awful photos of Ben when like paparazzi was taking photos like right outside of his gate.
when he was getting like Uber Eats and shit.
Yeah, I was just like, yikes, man.
Yeah. Nothing was worse than the dragon back tattoo photo. When he was just staring off into the ocean. He was just like contemplating life. Apparently Jennifer Lopez is having him get that fucking removed. Yeah.
Fuck, that's gonna hurt.
Rumor. That's how powerful J-Lo is. She's like, you want to marry me, you got to get rid of that fucking
what was it? It was
tattoo.
Drew. He's like, man, because these photos that came out with Momoa and Affleck, he's like, damn, look how happy he is with J-Lo. That booty has all that power. But one last thing, because I want to get your opinion on this as well. I did, like I said, talk to 2 different people who claimed to see the movie. And one thing that people were not really like gung-ho to talk about, because they wanted to like see if they would keep it a mystery. But there was talk of a possible third Batman. Like people were kind of hinting at the fact that, oh, well, we didn't see these heroes, but we saw somebody else that looked a lot like Batman. And so I asked, what is this I'm hearing about a third Batman? Is there any truth to this? And they said, there's a scene where different universes, quote unquote, start to gather. And if you look closely, you can see a glimpse of Adam West Batman, apparently. Some folks said that they saw a blink and you miss it shot of Pattinson's Batman as well. But neither are part of the main story. If anything, it's just a cool Easter egg for the audience.
And that is probably how they would do a new Batman.
I was going to say, if you remember those scenes of the show The Flash, where he's like running back in time and you saw glimpses of different things, like coming up in the series, and of course we got that glimpse of like Supergirl, I think you will have a better high budgeted visual of that happen in the Flash movie.
I would expect that. And we already know that they're not going to do the proper multiverse. They're going to do the, oh, look, anybody can be Batman with a different face kind of multiverse. So, you kind of just got to live with that. But I think this is the perfect way to recast a new Batman after they do this crisis event. If that is what they're building to, which kind of seems that way for them to be able to reboot, And it's smart that they're kind of like trying to redo that. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just being like, hey, we're going to say fuck everybody and we're just going to kind of keep this. Crisis will allow them to keep certain actors if they want to keep them. Still pretty crazy that you got nothing on Cavill, which is nuts.
Well, I said how accurate is WB trying to be with DC when they can't get a Superman story going, but they can find a way to bring Batman back?
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I mean, if those rumors are true, if they don't know how to make Superman modern, I guess that's what they're hung up on, And the one thing I'd rather not have a Superman instead of getting like some kind of like really woke Superman somehow. That wouldn't be great. You know what I mean? So, well, it'll be very interesting to see what they do. I mean, just have him punch shit. Like, it's not that hard. Like, have him be a good boy that punches shit. But that's WB, seeing that they can't bring him to light. You think there would be better writers out there? How can you not make Superman work? Anyways, and you just gotta bring Cavill back. Just bring Cavill back. People will watch anything. He can fucking serve ice cream for 2 hours and people will be like, that was great. Anyways, so that is everything we got for the Affleck stuff and the Flash spoilers. But let's go ahead and go on to Harley Quinn. This dropped 3 episodes of the Harley Quinn show. I will tell you, I laughed out loud at least once in every episode.
I think so too. I will say it somehow or some way, I don't know why. Maybe I was just really focused on by the way, I was going to tell you this off air, but I know some people were asking me about it. Just got a job yesterday. So I was in the middle of watching Harley when all that happened. So like I wasn't fully in it, but there was really good moments in each episode that made me laugh out loud.
Yeah. I fucking laughed so hard at some of them. When my favorite part is we're gonna just go all over the place and kind of give our opinions, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Episode 2. I was trying to remember what made me laugh out loud in episode 1, but episode 2, Nightwing shows up to the cave, being all ominous and shit. And, you know, he's all like, I call shotgun. And Robin throws the finger. He's like, fuck that. And Batgirl's like, you can hop a ride with the macaroni. And, dude, I fucking lost it. I lost it because I forgot about the macaroni. And I remember when the macaroni showed up the last season.
With Bane and Batman?
Yes, I fucking died. So when that happened again and I completely forgot about him, I fucking lost my shit. I thought that was so funny. Because he's on that stupid bike. Like...
No, see, for me, mine on the second episode was when Dick was like, I'm a failure at life. And he jumps up on the freaking bookcase. He's like, and Ivy's like, we're going to die anyway. He's like, not fast enough.
Yeah. So this is the kind of show that I love when the superheroes are definitely out of character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be stupid. It's supposed to be wacky. And I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I don't know. I loved every second of Bane. Bane is so good in the show. I love that. James Gunn's cameo was interesting, being a director on the show.
Dude, freaking
being himself.
Billy Bob Thornton was in this freaking second episode.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, second and third. Was it the third
episode?
It was the third episode.
I'm pretty sure it was the third episode.
What the hell? No, and this whole thing was because of this movie this biopic that they're making about the Waynes. I love in the second episode, Batman's like, what Thomas Wayne movie?
Yeah, he goes off on a tangent. Yeah, he's like
those pearls.
Yeah,
those pearls.
So that's what I loved about them returning to Gotham. They were because there's like Gordon's running for mayor, and they're like, there's potholes and sinkholes and toxic holes and kids driving buses and like it's chaos everywhere. And I love there's this montage of everything happening, and there is a rat Wayne family that is walking around with an Alfred Butler rat, and they get killed because of a stupid kid driving a bus, and it's Bat Rat. He's like, no. And,
and you see Alfred is like there with the umbrella trying to console him and everything. Oh,
and he's like holding the pearl necklace. He's like, no. I was like, dude, if we get Bat Rat in this show, that's going to be fucking hilarious.
Oh, that's going to be great.
I love the stupidity of the show, man. Like, it was so good. And then there was like the award show. Like, Joker still good. I forgot how good the voice actor for Joker is in this.
Yeah, that's Alan Tudyk. Who is oh shit, what was his name?
He's on Doom Patrol.
He was in Doom Patrol. He plays
in Star Wars.
Yeah, he also does Star Wars. I don't know if you knew this. He plays like every single animal in like Disney animated movies. Like if there is an animal that does not talk, and he does all of the noises.
Yeah, that's apparently a really big voice actor thing you need to learn to do.
That's insane.
Yeah, they don't get real animals. They fucking have people pretend to be animals, which I think is hilarious. Draft. But yeah, like I don't know. I think Harley Quinn just overall, I don't think we need to go through every episode. I just love the first few episodes. We'll do a proper review next week when it's one episode.
Yeah.
But the first 3 episodes, all I have to say is if you enjoyed the first 2 seasons, you'll enjoy this. I don't see why you wouldn't.
The fucking porn stars, man.
fucking great. Dude, I had like my iPad full blast, like with my door open, and that was going on. I was like, hey, whoa, what the fuck is going on here? I was like, holy shit.
Well, no, because I was like, oh, because the one thing that made me laugh, and I don't know if you necessarily would laugh at this, but in the first episode, Ivy is like doing this tangent about all the things that is wrong in the world. And she drops this line about Bravo celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the channel Bravo, and they have all of the like housewife shows on there and all the reality TV.
Mm-hmm.
Abby is really big on reality TV.
Okay. Yeah, that flew over my head.
And she loves Bravo. So I actually got that joke. And so I'm like, oh, Abby, let me show you this joke. And like I completely forgot that it was the sex scene with the porn movie in the very beginning of the episode. The show, like my TV is old, so I have to blast it at like 75 in order to get anything. And so like this scene opens up and Abby's just like, why are you showing me this? I was like, I'm sorry, let me fast forward.
Yeah, I think it was fun, man. It was good. Like I said, I love Bane. I love that Bane has an inner monologue this season. And he's like, maybe I am depressed. Like, I just fucking love it, dude.
That
like,
cashier, dude, is like, just, well, not the cashier, it was the bank teller. Just looking at your past, like, transactions, could it be a possibility that you're depressed? And he's just like, no, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I thought it was just so good, dude. Like, I want to see more of Bane. I like that this show decided to keep dead characters dead because they had an in memoriam. Yeah. And I was just like, wow. I don't even remember Freeze dying.
I don't remember Penguin dying.
I want to say I probably do. I just
don't remember. The only one that I prominently remember is fucking Scarecrow, because that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. The way Joker killed him. He's like, because he ruined the surprise of who Batman is. Yeah. Where the fuck's my car, Bruce? Like, I love that love that scene, man. It blows my mind. If you guys have not given Harley Quinn a chance, like, give it a chance. Like, it's such a fucking good show. I'm excited. I'm excited about the rest of the episodes coming out. But definitely watch Harley Quinn. We don't want to spoil everything for you. But we'll do a proper review next week on the 4th episode when it comes out. But yeah, I'm excited that show's back. Because it's nice to laugh, man. I'm watching Stranger Things right now, and god damn, that show's great. But dude, speaking of Stranger Things though, like, not gonna give out any spoilers, but I thought it was only 8 episodes. So I was watching it and I was like, oh damn, that's the way they're gonna end it. This is pretty interesting. Like the 8th episode, I thought would have been a decent way to end the show. And then I was like, it was like next episode. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, the next episode. And I was a little shocked that the 8th episode was like an hour and 30 minutes when the previous episode was an hour and 40. I was like, damn, the final episode is only gonna be an hour and 30. That's weird. The next episode's 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I was like, bruh. I was like, that's a fucking movie. And I was like, and it was already like 2 a.m. I was like, no. I was like, I will not watch that right now. So I'm house sitting again for my brother this weekend. So I'll be watching it on a huge TV. And that show's great too. But I'm glad to laugh at something. Also, I love being able to watch something that's like 20 minutes. Because holy fuck, I've been watching so many things that are hour plus, and I'm just like, oh, I'm tired of this. So
yeah, it's a nice show to just like sit down for a little bit and just relax. Yeah,
for sure. Watch it during lunch. I think it's funny. But yeah, so going on from that, let's go to viewer questions, ladies and gentlemen. I have not checked if we have anything on YouTube. And I know we have a few in Discord for sure.
I actually have not checked YouTube. Let me look at that really quickly.
So I'm going to bring it up on the Discord and let's see what we got. Because I know we had at least like 2 or 3. I know Drew had an interesting question at the final bit that I thought was funny. Let's see. Actual question. Man, where is everybody's questions? Maybe it was just our whiz in Discord. Did you have anybody on YouTube?
So Ethan is saying something. He said something about 6 days ago. He says, at 4244, this has to be fake. And also, I've heard about, and it's not Zachary Gordon from the OG trilogy, but the kid from the reboot. I have no idea what we were talking about at that time. If I look back at my notes,
Zachary Gordy and Gordon. Kid from the trilogy. I don't know what the fuck. This is how we don't remember our podcast all the time, ladies and gentlemen. Like, sometimes we'll just be like, what?
So this has to be in regards to a book that we were reviewing.
I have no idea.
Oh, so this was back when we were talking about that random kid that shot his mother in the back of the head. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Wimpy Kid. Yeah, so I actually tweeted about that. That I thought, because the headlines that were showing, it looked like the little kid from the original ones, but it's a side character from the Wimpy Kid. And I was like, because I was going to do a video on it, but I was like, oh, this is not exciting. It's a fucking like C-list character from the movie. If it would have been the Wimpy Kid or like his chubby redhead friend, like that would have been some shit. But yeah, I don't know. Ethan's young, so I expect him to know more knowledge about the Wimpy Kid. That's probably like his childhood. So, I grew up on the little toaster and shit. I didn't grow up on the Wimpy Kid.
But we do have one question from Raphael. He says, I don't know how many of their works you've read, but what do you think about Grant Morrison as a writer?
Morrison is a legend. I don't think you can take that away from him. I think he's a legend. He's done some great things, but I also think he's one of those writers that people give too much love to and think everything he's done is great. Because Arkham Asylum is a piece of shit.
Garbage. Absolute
super
garbage.
I don't know why people love that book. They treat it like it's the fucking greatest story of all time.
I think a lot of people think of it as like, oh, it's like an excellent art piece, you know? It's not necessarily like real comics. It just like really makes you think, like being the what is it called? The hipster of comic book reading. That's basically what people think about it. But in all honesty, I like the introduction as Damien, like not the baby Damien, but like him as like, hey, I am your son, Damien.
Yeah.
That run was actually pretty legit. I really started liking it. I dropped off of it when we started getting books back through the pandemic, but I want to go back to it. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of stuff that he is really, really good at. He also does the Klaus books at Boom Studios, which is the Santa Claus books with Dan Mora. Absolutely amazing. But like when you get down to his like psychedelic multiversal, like where he really wants to go crazy, that's where I just want to jump ship, man. It gets way too wacky.
Yeah, he is a really wacky person. The best thing Grant Morrison has ever said or done was telling people that everything doesn't need to be explained in comics. That's the best thing he's ever done. Because people are like, you don't need to know how a bat wing can fly out of a cave perfectly. Like, you don't need to know that. Like, it's just comic books.
It's
like,
comics. You just let it fucking happen because it's awesome.
Like, you don't need to know the fucking dimensions of the cave and how it doesn't hit the walls and all that bullshit. I think that's the best thing he's done. But yeah, I think he's a solid writer. But yeah, I think like a lot of writers, and I think it doesn't surprise me that Scott Snyder has went off the rails because he's such a Grant Morrison fanboy. You know what I mean? And so it doesn't surprise me that he had a great Batman run and then just totally went overboard with Metal 2, you know? So yeah, I don't know. I think Grant Morrison he's dope at times, but I don't worship him like some people do. So
yeah.
But yeah, there's that. I think the only other other two things come from Discord. I think we only have two questions. One is from Arwix that says, not sure if I'm late or not, but I just got done watching Gray Man, and it's a pretty good in my opinion. But I like the way that they showed his character not really feeling pain. My question is, if future Batman movies, would you like to see more of Batman going through more painful experiences that actually lead to some wounds that eventually become scars?
So I like this idea because I also like the idea of what Ben Affleck's movie was supposed to be with him like running through Arkham. It being the same as like the Raid. and he was supposed to be in his suit 95% of the time because he's stuck in Arkham.
Yeah.
But fighting all of those bad guys, you would have to see his suit really go through the ringer, right? So I think that would be really, really cool in that kind of concept.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not some masochist and just like want him to get like super tortured and be like, ha, now you got this like huge gash on your freaking chest or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I think that sometimes, and again, it goes into the stupid argument of realistic and comic booky stuff.
Yeah.
I think that even in comic booky stuff, when we freaking saw Tobey Maguire fighting in that Spider-Man suit, his suit got ripped up to shit in every fucking movie.
Yeah.
And it looked awesome.
Yeah.
I think that, and one of the main reasons why is because of those moments that people always say, oh, you can't have white eyes with Batman because you need to see the emotion in his eyes. And that's what you got with Toby when his suit got to shit. You finally got to see the emotion in his eyes.
Yeah.
You could do the exact same fucking thing with Batman.
Yeah. Break the cowl a little bit, kind of
Yeah.
have. Yeah, because, Tony Daniels, I think his art's been going downhill recently, but one of the last best things he's done was that Tom King book when he went after KG Beast.
Yeah.
Like, that book was fucking great. And when he's fighting KG Beast, his cowl breaks, and it looks awesome. So, yeah, I wish they would do more of that in the movies for sure. But unfortunately, they go. I would like it because it would make it a little bit more real. And I know people are like, "Oh, you want it to be real?" But I'm like, but Batman does that in the comics. He goes through pain. But unfortunately, we just got treated to a Batman that can eat C4, and nothing happens to his suit. So I know people hate that joke, and I have beaten it to death, but it's true. Like, nothing happened to that suit, and for anybody to believe that that's okay, like, I don't understand why you think that. Like, but it is what it is. So yeah, I would like to see more stuff like that, but I would really love to see that Batman Raid movie. Like, that would be fucking awesome. Because a lot of people are like, really, dude, 90 plus minutes of fucking, Batman being in a suit. I'm like, dude, he would be communicating with people. So you're going to have like Alfred in the cave talking to him. You're going to have cops outside Arkham being like, what's going on in there? We got to get in there, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a bunch of stuff happening that's going to take away from him being Batman for moments in the movie. You know what I mean? So and you would probably, the first 30 minutes would probably be in the build up to why Arkham is being taken over. You know what I mean? So he'd probably be in the suit for like an hour, which I think would be fucking fire. Maybe overall, like movie wise, it would probably be like 45 minutes in the suit. How much was he in the Batman? He was in it a lot for the Batman, but that movie was also like 10 hours. So, but anyways, next thing we got is, this is from Drew, which, me and Drew go back and forth on a lot of things, but this is one of his better comments that is entertaining. If I win the Mega Millions, I will sponsor this podcast so you'll have a little more money in your pockets each month. Also, I'll pay for the naming rights to Juice's mustache. He will be known and referred to as Eduardo. Also, I'll pay for new cameras and get you a studio so you can film for YouTube, and advertiser budget so you can get Eduardo his own billboard. Also, I'm buying myself 2 copies of Detective 27, 1 graded and a reader copy, which I think that's insane.
So if you're going to buy Detective 27 to actually fucking open it, you're fucking insane.
Yeah, I was like, dude, just read it online and just have 2 copies.
Too many fucking oils on my hand?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Yeah, you would have to have somebody professionally turn the page, like with gloves on. Because I feel like those pages would be so brittle now.
Oh, yeah, it would literally disintegrate.
Yeah. My question is, what comic book movie, show, or whatever item would you buy if you hit the Mega Millions? First off, did you buy any tickets?
So I'm going to buy my ticket right after we record.
Okay. I bought $10 worth yesterday. I wasn't going to go hard in the paint, but I picked my numbers though. So.
Oh, shit. See, no, like, do I want to pick my numbers?
I picked 4 of the 5 because the card has 5 on it, and you can quick pick the 5th one if you want. You can quick pick all of them, but I picked my numbers on 4 of the 5.
Well, because you did $10, so that gives you. Oh, I guess that does give you 5.
Yeah, it's $2 a ticket.
Yeah. So last Friday, I bought $20 worth, and they were all quick picks.
Yeah.
And
I hate quick picks because I always get the same fucking number on every row.
Really?
Yeah. If you ever notice, like when you buy in bulk, you probably get the same number in a majority of them, and if that number hits, you fuck all your numbers.
Oh shit.
So the people that have won the lotto have always said, pick your numbers. So.
Okay. Good to know. So like,
take your own pen too.
So yesterday, last week, my grandmother was the one that told me about it, and she's like, "Oh, did you hear that it's already like up to 8 million and or 800 million? Like, here's some money. Go buy me some quick picks. Buy me some quick picks." Yeah. I was like, "Okay," and so like I bought them, and like we exchanged like whose ticket would be whose, and we basically like, okay, good luck, and then we walked, because my grandmother literally lives like 10 paces outside of my side door. Like she's that close to me. And so we're just like, all right, let's see who wins. And so I asked her if she wanted to buy tickets today, and she does. So I'm gonna go over there later today and get some. It's at $1 billion. Like, holy shit. I think the cash
yesterday, it was at 1.1 already.
The cash value is half a billion.
Yeah. Like, I think it's probably over 600 already. Yeah. So, but taxes, you probably get like 400, which is crazy.
Oh no, I get $400 million.
Yeah, I only get $400 million. Oh my god, yeah. So you win the Mega Millions. What are you buying? That's comic book, movie, or anything related.
If I get $500 million, here's the first thing I'm doing. First thing I'm doing is I'm finding somebody with Action Comics #1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing I'm buying. And then I am working my way to WB and working with Zaslav, saying, hey, I could be a producer on this shit. Mm-hmm. Let's get DC Studios up and working and put my name on that shit, so that way I can gain more money out of the $500,000 that I've already made. So that's what I'm doing. Is that realistic? No, it's not. But neither is winning this Mega Million. So
yeah, I read something along the lines of like, if the chances of you winning the Mega Millions are like if you take a penny and turn it on its side, not like laying down flat, but like vertically, and it would stretch like across Texas or something like that. Like the length of pennies you would need that's your chances of winning, which is fucking crazy. I mean, it takes like 20 hours to get out of Texas, so that's like annoying as fuck. So yeah, it's obviously a pipe dream. But if I were to have the Mega Millions, so I'm not a car guy, but I've always said if I had stupid money, I'd buy a Batmobile just to have a Batmobile. You know what I mean?
But which one?
Fucking 89, like the long one. So it's like I'm going over there. I mean, can you even legally drive the Tumbler on the streets?
I think you can.
It's so wide though.
It is. So maybe not. But I will also say, Juice, that long 89 Batmobile, you wouldn't even be able to fit that on your street.
Oh yeah, I'd buy a house eventually, right? Like I have to, but I would buy one of those. I think that would be cool. But I'd probably buy something like that, or I don't really know, man. Like when it comes to thinking about buying memorabilia, I did make a tweet about this, and it has nothing to do with comic books, but like I would buy those crazy statues that are like life size. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just put them in like my living room or something. I wouldn't buy too many. Like I like to actually have things look nice, but I don't think I would buy like comic books or anything like that. Oh, you know what I would do? I would fucking pay Clayman to make those 3 books.
There you go.
Redraw those 3 books and fucking get it binded in like a badass like Batcat book. And I would probably I don't know, man. Like I would definitely use the money.
Didn't he do all the covers? He did all the covers though, right?
He did all the covers, yeah.
So you could pay him to do that and then go to DC and be like, bind this for me. And you would have an original set.
Yeah.
And then you would have to tell them to bind his pages into the hardcover that's eventually coming out also.
Yeah. So I would definitely do that. Well, the thing is, I would probably do it and just keep it to myself and be like, fuck everybody. And like every year release like one page and be like, oh yeah, this is my one book. I'd also go buy I'd buy the pages from what's his face for Batman Damned.
Damned 2.
I would just go buy all the band shit. I'd be like, hey, how much for that Joker Batgirl cover? I want the original drawing. That's what I would do. If I was going to buy comic shit, I'd go buy the stuff that is not supposed to see the light of day. I'd go buy those Catwoman pages from what's his face that did that Catwoman run. I would buy all that shit. So, because I like I like the forbidden shit when it comes to comics because it's like DC thought this was no. So I'm like, oh, I want to own the no stuff. So,
Drew, I would pay to make DC's format into manga and digital.
Damn. Fucked up.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, so that's kind of what we would do. So very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if somebody does actually hit that tonight. Somebody's going to hit. I don't see how it's not.
Well,
it's going to be multiple people.
Because the thing that I told my family is that I think there's going to be a lot less people playing.
No, hell no.
Yes. Do you know why?
Why?
Because rent is due.
Ooh, I don't think people care, dude. People are too obsessed with this kind of thing to not.
You think so?
I don't think they're going to go as hard, maybe, as they normally would. But
Yeah.
I think people are buying tickets. The reason why I know that is because it's rising. If the pot keeps rising, it's because people are buying. And it's risen so much since they said it was already over $1 billion. So, pretty crazy. Nobody's winning this shit that we know, which would be insane. Now, obviously, if you do win, you need to shut the hell up and not say it unless you live in a state that forces you to say. That's got to
Oh,
suck.
no, I've had the conversation with Abby and my grandmother. Like, hey, if one of us wins, we're the only 2 or 3 that should know. And because where we're at, we have to go into a completely different city to claim it. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know.
So
I thought about that too. I would tell nobody until I'm there.
We would just drive over there and just be like, okay, here, sign the paper.
Well, the thing is, they say not to even do that yet. I think you're supposed to get a lawyer first.
Really?
Because the moment you have that kind of cash, people are going to come out of the woodwork for you. Every little thing you do is going to be searching for money. So, like, I've seen a lot of people talk about this because this has happened throughout history, like huge jackpots like this. And people always say, like, whatever you got to do. But people always say you need to go get like a big guy, like the guy that runs the Comic-Cons or not the Comic-Cons, but like he does his own Comic-Con.
Oh,
that lawyer guy, you need to go to him, like specifically, not his firm, him, like the big dog. And he'd be like, no, I got money. You need to cover all my shit. And that way he knows everything law-wise, right? So, like, if people come after you for shit, he's like, nope, we're going to do this. Bada bing, bada boom, blah, blah, blah. It's in litigation for 20 billion years, and you're good. Like, you got to go to the top guy that knows how to screw everybody already. Like, that's what you need to do. So, pretty crazy shit. A lot of people also said that do not keep the big ticket on you, too. Like, you have to make copies and copies.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a TikTok about that.
Yeah. There's a chick, right? It's probably the one you saw. Yeah. All right. Anyways, that's enough lotto talk. I don't think anybody's gonna be winning it, but yeah, Drew, if you win, we can have conversations. It's gonna be about $1 amount for the mustache rights, man. I'll tell you that much.
And sponsorship.
Yeah. So we'll go from there, man. But good luck. Anyways, let's move on to that is viewer questions. So let's move on to comic reviews. Now we only have 2 books this week, but Clay mentioned something about Task Force Z that you wanted to talk about. So what happened there?
So, Task Force Z. I, of course, look through everything every single week just to make sure if there is anything dramatic happening within the DC universe.
Yeah.
Task Force Z, of course, is, the big character there is, of course, Red Hood. He's the one that is commanding all of these zombies or whatever. And apparently the big story about this book is that there is somebody that they're in talks to resurrect, and they finally resurrected them in this issue, which is issue number 10. The last pages is the resurrection of Hank Clover Jr. Do you know who that is?
No.
Gotham. As in Gotham and Gotham Girl.
Interesting. Did he die with his body? I thought, did he not explode? Or maybe I'm just thinking of somebody else.
I have to go back.
Yeah,
because
too.
I think he almost like had like the equivalent of like a brain aneurysm.
Yeah, could be. Interesting. Okay. I want to see where they're going to go with that. I mean, it can't be worse than Gotham Girl right now.
The way he looks as big as the Hulk, and he is a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if like this book is going to completely resurrect these characters that are assumingly dead.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to do so. But I saw that and I was like, huh, that was interesting. Because hate Tom King all you want, I think Gotham and Gotham Girl was an actually really good start to his series.
Yeah, it was intriguing to have a Superman type person in Gotham. You know what I mean? Because he just like is pretty much obsoletes Batman. Which is nuts.
Well, like there was like the actual conversation of like, do you even need Batman anymore?
Yeah.
You know?
So yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, he was like in the Flash Button series, right? Didn't he? Wasn't there that crossover between Batman and Flash that fought them again? I don't think it was the Button, but I think it was the next crossover. Because there was 2 Flash Batman crossovers.
Yes, there was one near the end of King's Run that Williamson also wrote. Yeah. And like a clone or something was involved with Gotham. Yeah.
So maybe that's the one they're messing with. I don't really know. But
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I always think you can still do some good stuff with those characters, but you know, unfortunately we get stuck with Ghostmaker and not better characters in my opinion. But yeah, so there's that. But let's go to move on to, I guess let's just talk about you know, is it Dark Knight? What is it called? I put EMP.
It's One Dark Knight.
Yeah. This is the finale to the book. I want to say that we thought the second book was okay. Like we didn't think it was anything wow. What did you think about this finale of this story?
This was kind of lackluster. Mm-hmm. I won't say that it was bad, but like it has been kind of a while since we've read the second issue.
Yeah.
So I was having a little bit of trouble remembering who some of these characters were. But like the whole dirty cop thing is kind of like, it's not over. I mean, I guess you could say it's overdone in Gotham stories.
Yeah.
But it's to be expected, you know? But I think it's all right. And then even so, like at a moment where Batman at the very end is like, don't worry, kid, I'll save your dad. And then he just like throws him in the ocean to die.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, Batman like saved everybody, but it was at the cost of this dude that he said he would save. And then at the very end of the book, you see him being airlifted and they're like, oh, there's still a heartbeat. He's alive. I don't know how he lived, but, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes at that just because like, really?
Yeah.
Like you had to let him live, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an okay ending, but it wasn't like oh man, this is amazing, you know?
Yeah, no, the book wasn't anything. I mean, I liked the art in it. Like it was very like rough and rigid, which I thought was kind of cool. I like when he was fighting Croc and getting his ass beat. That was pretty dope. And I like how he got fucked up so much he had to tie his mask on, which was kind of cool.
That was interesting. Yeah.
So I thought that was nice. But yeah, overall, like I think Black Label at times is a detriment to itself with just 3 books because it feels like stuff is rushed.
Yeah.
Because I think you could have definitely made this story better if you had like maybe it was a mini series, you know what I mean? And not just 3 books. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I think it was an okay book. I didn't think it was bad, like you said, but I also didn't think like I was super wowed by it. I did enjoy the art. I did enjoy the concept. I really enjoyed the concept, but I just think there could have been a lot more done. Same thing with like Fortress, right? Like Fortress could have been good, but it's just terrible.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that sucks about some ideas when it comes to Batman. I think people have great concepts, but they don't execute it well.
Yeah, and there was this really cool line when he was fighting Croc where he was like, for all the stench down here in the sewer, the only thing I smell is your fear.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. See, some people know how to write Batman dialogue well sometimes. Not Chip Zdarsky, but, you know, freaking other people. And I think is this drawn and written by what's-his-face?
By Jock, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of those other examples. Do we consider this good or do we consider it bad? This is just mid, as the kids would say nowadays. So,
well, like, because here's the thing with that, and you may call me an older millennial or whatever, but like, is mid technically mid or is mid
it's bad apparently, which is stupid. I think this is where kids need education because their slang doesn't matter anymore.
It just doesn't make sense.
It's mid is the new bad. Like, you know how we used to say bad all the time?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's bad. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
that's true.
That's good. Yeah. But like, is that the way they intended as mid being bad? But the one thing I've noticed with like the younger peeps nowadays with that word of mid is everything is mid. Everything.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, why would I take y'all serious?
Well, no, like, and because of that, I can't take criticism seriously. Like, in the sense of like, if everything is mid, what would be good? You know?
But it's unfortunate too because the slang is being used to say bad, but at the same time, people use it to meme. And it's like, y'all lose all meaning. Like, is it a meme or is it not a meme? Like, you gotta pick one. Like, you know, so the slang term is bad. But like, I don't know what, I don't know. I like to stick to the classics. Like, I use rowdy a lot. I'm like, damn, that's rowdy. Like, that's my word.
I haven't used rowdy in so long.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I love rowdy, dude. Rowdy's one of my favorite words. I got my friend who's never used it before to start using it because we would talk so much. He'd be like, that's rowdy. I'm like, yeah. Good times. But yeah, so that book was okay. So it is what it is. But let's go on to the final book of the podcast. And this is the New Era of Detective with Ram V. Now, we read this book weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So when I read this initially, I texted Clay, and I was like, this is going to be a slow burn, man. I think, you know, I have all the faith in Ram V, but, you know, he is starting his new story, and I don't know. There's one big thing that happens in this book that I think is going to be our talking point. Or 2, maybe, because of the way it ends. But overall, this book was kind of slow, I think.
Yeah.
And he was fighting a weird blobby type creature. And I don't mind that. I think Batman can do that. But I don't know what that's been the obsession in Detective lately with Batman fighting these weird creature type villains.
Supernatural-esque villains.
Yeah. But one of the biggest talking points in this book was Batman questioning his abilities. And we kind of saw this in Zdarsky's run. So we don't know if if this is going to be the new wave of Batman, of him questioning his ability going forward. But how do you feel about that?
Well, that was one of the very first things that we talked about in text, because like we said, we read this a month ago and I was literally in bed ready to go to sleep when Juice was like, we got the new books, let's read them, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you know, all the controversy of Batman 125, and he's like, oh dude, we just got Detective. Yeah. And so I went ahead, I was like, fine, I'll go ahead and read that too. And so when I read this, the very first thing that I texted Juice was, what is up with everybody like calling out the fact that Batman is getting old?
Yeah.
Because in, like you said, he's questioning his abilities, but he is explaining oh, I can't keep up. Oh, I have to do this quick or I'm gonna like get fatigued and all of this other stuff. There's a conversation here between Nightwing and Batman on like, oh, I have to do some tests. There's something wrong with me, blah, blah.
Yeah. Because he's like a millisecond off or something of fighting. Like he's testing his abilities. So.
And I don't like it. And the reason why is for 80 years, Batman has been timeless. Yes, there has been specific stories that show Batman as older, a la Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns and Batman.
Recently, Tom Taylor.
And then also Batman Beyond and Batman 666.
Yeah.
There's stories that show an older Batman. This is the main line of Batman books. This is Detective, it's not Batman, but it's still in the main line of books.
Yeah.
I should not be seeing a fatigued older Batman.
Yeah, I agree.
And again, there's these rumors, the same thing with Superman over in Action Comics. He's starting to get the gray hair on the sides of his head, starting to look a little bit more like the quote unquote original Superman from Infinite Crisis. So, like, does this mean that we're moving towards a like where we're gonna be getting to that point where like, hey, these are older characters, they need to be gone and or dead, and then we'll eventually reboot? I don't know, but I don't know if I like it either.
Yeah, I mean, well, with what happens at the end of this book, that could be the reason why he feels off, because at the very end of this book, he quotes or he mentions the idea of Barbatos, which we know that is a big Snyder thing, but I think that it goes all the way back to Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
So that could be interesting that maybe he's feeling something like pulling him to the darkness, maybe, and that's maybe making him off. Like, I'm not gonna shoot off Ram V just yet, because Ram V has shown me that he can write well. And so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt for a few issues, and we'll see where he goes with this. But it was a very slow read. I like the vibe of it and the art, though. Like, some of the opera scenes looked really cool that were in this. And it's got that very, like, dark kind of gothic feel of Batman, So, but yeah, overall, I did think it was kind of slow. Hated that Talia was in this. Like, they just have to keep shoving Talia in our face. I don't know what's going on with this, but she was saying that, oh, you're like not ready for what's coming or whatever, one of those kind of things. And then, of course, we saw Batman doing a bunch of tests, talking to Nightwing, all that kind of jazz. And then there's these random characters that I don't know where the hell they're from, but yeah, just some weird chick with like a crown type thing, and we get this family that is gonna be, I guess, a big problem for Batman in the future, where they're like killing people, or they're doing something along those lines. But yeah, at the very end of the book, that's when we see this weird visual of Batman like slumped over in a chair, and then a fucking Freddy Krueger hand comes out of his chest, and it's Barbatos. And then he wakes up from a nightmare, and he has a music box on his desk, and it's like going off. And that's kind of going to be, I guess, the next mystery that he solves. Oh shit. But yeah, I don't know.
I am very curious. This can be nothing. But I am pretty sure that there has been a music box referenced in another Batman book. Not recently, but like pre-New 52. Drew, if you know of this, let me know. But I have a feeling that this is something that is referencing another story.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Barbatos is there, so
yeah. And I never really like thought of the concept of maybe Barbatos is like pulling him to the dark, and like we could probably have another moment of like what happened in Final Crisis, where Batman is missing for a while.
Yeah.
Granted, he is missing now due to the stuff at Dark Crisis, but it happening again, I think would, now that I think of it, be kind of stupid. Be kind of stupid. But I don't know. But the thing is, Ram V has shown us that he can write Batman in Catwoman. He was writing Catwoman very well. But everyone is really loving what he is doing with Swamp Thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gets into the like horror, dark genre of comics. And I feel like that's what we might be getting here in Detective Comics as well.
I'd be down for it. Again, I trust Ram V because I think Ram V actually reads comic books, people. And because it was pretty crazy how much Ram V's story felt like the Brubaker Willis run. Like, it felt very much like that Catwoman run. And I was like, oh, shit. I was like, okay. He either grew up on it or not necessarily grew up on it because I think he is probably older. But he probably was reading comics at that time and maybe read that run. Or maybe he's just a Brubaker fan. We don't know. But I think that was definitely something that I just feel like you can tell a difference when a writer has knowledge of characters and when they just kind of want to write their own thing. My best example right now would be Zdarsky. I feel like he doesn't have a lot of knowledge about Batman. And then I feel like Ram V's Catwoman run had a lot of knowledge about Catwoman.
Yeah.
So, like, that's just kind of how it goes. Because I feel like Zdarsky's just like, I want to write my own thing. Like, you know, I'm going to kind of do my own thing. And that's fair for writers to want to do that. Like, maybe if that was your, like, I have a dream of writing Batman. I would love to write my own story. But there are elements of previous stories that I love that I would love to incorporate. You know what I mean? But I think some people are just like, no, I'm just going to do my own thing. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to see what Ram V is going to do. But I just hope it picks up the pace and it's not as slow as this first issue for the next few issues. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I mean, I think it is going to be a detective story, though. It feels like there is going to be a vibe of that. And I think he does that well. Because, like, even Catwoman had these, like, little mysteries in there. And he also mentioned playing with the Bat family. So will he bring in Catwoman? Like, you know, that's a big thing. Because I think somebody asked him that. And he's like, I have access to the whole family now or some shit. So we'll see.
I think that since he wrote Catwoman, it only makes sense that he brings Catwoman in here.
Yes, but I also don't know if it's one of those things out of respect that you don't want to mess with Howard's. Which I still kind of call bullshit with Zdarsky's wording of like he's taking the lead from Howard because his run has nothing to do, his backup has nothing to do with fucking Howard, I feel like. He's just doing his own thing.
He, like, I think has characters because I'm pretty sure that I have seen some, like, quote unquote preview pages of the backups for, well, I've read 126 of Batman already. So there's some characters that are in Howard's run that are in there. So technically he can say that now.
Well, no, that happened on issue 125. It was
oh, that's right.
Like the family and all that trying to take over Iceberg Lounge. Yeah, that's
right. That's right.
Yeah. Because 126 deals with more of the story.
I
don't know. Like but that's like saying he's following, you know, Tynan because he incorporated fucking the Underbroker or whatever his name is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I don't know. It's just pulling in characters and stuff like that. It doesn't mean you're following that run. So I just don't think he's matching up with Howard the way he says. But as I said, man, after reading 46, like Howard's writing ability, I don't know what happened with the Harley issues. But these last two issues have been more interesting. And I don't know if it's because I'm like, Batcat, you know what I mean? Like, what are you doing with them? Or if those were just bad issues with Harley. Because I think some people don't know how to write Harley.
I think a lot of people don't know how to write Harley.
Yeah. Like, Tynan is surprisingly, that's what he's best at, is writing Harley. And so, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think the Batcat thing keeps Catwoman alive on this podcast because it's such up and down. But I don't know. I think the latest issue was an interesting read. I will say that. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, overall, that is it for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. 150 episodes. Do you ever think we were going to get to 150 episodes?
No, I did not. This is insane.
Yeah.
Started off with the death of Alfred. Now here we are,
Still
begging
dead.
for still dead, which is
Yeah.
another thing we thought would not happen.
Yeah.
We thought that he would very quickly come back, and that is
Yeah.
not the case. But yeah, man, that is crazy.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, let's see. 52, and then that would be 104, so it'd be 158 should be our three, like, right? Am I doing my math right? 158? No, 156 should be the last episode, and then we go into year 4?
156
because it's
divided by
52
50.
episodes a year.
Yeah, 156 divided by 52 is 3.
Yeah, okay.
So 157.
We would have hit it already if I didn't have my anxiety spell, because I think we took 3 weeks off. I think maybe it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. We tried to record one episode and I wasn't able to finish it. And then I think I was off for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3. We were probably off for 2 weeks, and then there was 1 week where I couldn't record because anxiety was really bad. So we would have been nearing the 3-year mark for sure. Because now our thing is pushed back. We're going by episodes, not necessarily dates. That's like how I like to incorporate it. But yeah, pretty crazy. 150-ish episodes. I think a lot of people are lucky to break 100 podcasts sometimes, which is nuts. And I will say we've been consistent as hell. Besides the anxiety thing, like, we would have probably been pretty solid. So pretty crazy, but we appreciate everybody that's been listening. But Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
Well, before I do that, I just want to let everybody know we have another big week next week for comics. So we have Batman 126, Batman Beyond, Neo Year number 5, Batman Killing Time number 6, which is the finale of that story. We have Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths number 3, DC versus Vampires number 8, Flashpoint Beyond number 4. Then we also have the Sword of Azrael, as well as the Sword of Azrael Dark Knight of the Soul number 1.
Yeah, why did we get 2 books? That was weird. So
I think that it is one is a series while the other is a one shot.
Got you. Interesting. So we'll have a big week of comics next week. We'll see if we have actual news. Because usually we wouldn't have had anything this week if we didn't push this podcast back. So
yeah,
which is pretty crazy. But yeah, man, what do you got going on?
So, of course, everything that we talked about today with the Flash and the Batman stuff and Alan Horn, we're all going to be talking about that over at DC Alliance. So go check that out as well. We also started doing a retro review of Smallville. So we are doing that as well if you are interested in listening to our thoughts on that old show. Really, really fun. But there is that. And then also over at Star Wars Alliance, we talked all the big news about Knights of the Old Republic being indefinitely delayed and some other stuff in regards to the Star Wars fandom. So go check out that as well.
That the video game or the movie?
That is the video game. They were planning on doing a complete reboot / remaster of the game because there was rumors of how they are wanting to make that game a part of Star Wars canon. So it wasn't just a easy, hey, we're just going to do this in better graphics. It was a complete rework of the game.
Yeah. Crazy. So that's pretty cool. I might finally start watching Obi-Wan this weekend. So
nice.
That's if I watch Stranger Things. Because I don't like watching multiple shows at a time, that are big series like that. I like to finish one and then go to the next. So if I get through that movie that is the final episode of Stranger Things, then I'll move on to Obi-Wan. But yeah, as for me, go check out my reaction channel, peeps, because I had bigger YouTubers review my channel and kind of have to reevaluate what I'm doing on YouTube going forward. So there hasn't really been content. I'm not putting anything out much besides on my reaction channel and, of course, my shorts channel. But yeah, I'll just be doing live streams on my main channel for a bit as I think about the future of how I'm going to be making videos. So pretty interesting stuff because you damn Gotham fans ruined my channel. But the algorithm actually ruined it. But nobody gives a fuck about anything else because they only care about Gotham. So it ruined my shit. But anyways, that is going to be it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome. News Weekly.